So you don't know what socialism is like. Do you know what socialism is like? Hello.
Hi,
How old are you?
28.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, would you send a guest request to disagree on?
Oh, I really did not think I would get up here. It's usually a lot more people. But I'm not a feminist. I guess a faction of it. I call myself a womanist.
Oh yeah, womanism, like what distinction would you make there? Because I think there are valid critiques of feminists by
Mm,
womanists.
Yeah, I mean, I am like a black woman, so like I cannot like fully agree with feminism as it was like brought up. But I do believe that like a lot of people get it misconstrued, specifically men, because feminism is actually doing more for men than
Yeah,
what's going on in society, like misogyny and all this shit. Like
yeah, I agree
it's
actually. So I actually just I do agree. I don't identify as a womanist, right? Because it's been communicated to me that like white
you
men typically aren't
can't.
welcome
I
in
don't
the.
think you're allowed
Yeah, exactly.
to.
Exactly. Yeah, it's been communicated that I'm not. It's not my movement for me. That I can be a member of, but I do support the ideals of it, absolutely. And I actively, I don't support, or at least do my best not to perpetuate the history of feminism and racism, because I'm aware, right, that it has origins and continued, impacts that actively exclude Black women and other women of color.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, are you a feminist?
Yeah, I would identify as a feminist in that I believe in the equality and eventual abolition of genders.
So, what do you think is like the most important part right now to tackle? I mean, me as a woman, as you as a feminist, like,
What do I think the most important? I mean, I think strategic goals and strategic policies are contextual. I think that would change person by person, situation by situation. Um,
I mean,
Obviously, I believe there's a
like
huge attack on.
societal more so.
I don't really know what scale to answer that in. Like policy wise, right, there's a huge attack on reproductive rights that are primarily affecting that is massively reducing, will eventually massively change the economic position between the sexes, the legal position within the sexes, and the social opportunities between the sexes. So I mean that's a huge issue. It's just there are a huge series of issues. Um,
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, personally, like, I think more so like overall, if we're talking about like, feminism, whatever, I think it's more just like mental health with men.
Men's mental health is absolutely important. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I think that's more
feminism
of a symptom than
is,
an issue, though.
oh, of course, 100%. Like the overarching, white like
Yeah.
supremacy. It's a big tree with a lot of branches. But
Yeah.
like, I'm starting at the very top. But I think like mental health with men is like important because it directly affects women and their how like safety and health. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, I agree. It's
I
certainly an
mean,
issue that's worthy of addressing.
being grown up in like a society that makes you like suppress your issues and suppress your traumas, emotions to the point where like the only emotion you think is rude, like some men feel, I can't say all men because it like freak you out, but like some men feel is it comes out seriously as aggression. And aggression leads to violence, and violence leads to usually like people in graves, and not just women, men too, you know? And I think like that is honestly like the biggest plague on society, and it's like leeching in. It's almost like it seems to me like almost like a poison, like that is leaching into everything. It's like the red pillars and like the incels and like everything, and it's like kind of like infecting younger children, like 12 the younger boys. And I think that's like the scariest part of it. Because they don't even know, like, have you seen that Sneeko video where he went and did a meet or greet? And
I
it was a
did.
bunch of little boys. Yeah, right? It was a bunch of little boys. And
Yeah,
they
no,
were
I
all
agree this is
screaming,
an
yeah.
issue. Absolutely. No one
It's,
really disagrees that
I,
this is an issue.
oh no, I think that's
Um,
probably the main thing.
Wonderful. Great. And that's something absolutely worthy of working on. Um, but yeah, let's see. Well, I do have someone up in guest request trying to disagree, but I appreciate you coming up and sharing that. So thank you.
Oh wait, am I supposed to draw?
If you'd like to, I'm trying to get someone who disagrees. Okay. She did drop, to be clear. Hello.
How are you? Good.
Doing well, yeah.
Yeah. So when you say trans men are men, do you mean biological men, or what do you mean?
I think they're just accurately men. I don't think adding a an adjective there is necessary. Um,
What is accurately a man then? If you can
all right.
describe.
So man has a few definitions. All I'm saying is that trans men fall within at least one. The one I would suggest they fall into, right, is a person who identifies with the social construction in their society composed of like masculine characteristics.
Okay, so basically, then what you're saying is that man is decided by society what a man is.
Uh, by that definition, yes. So we're talking about the social definition of man. So yes, the social definition of man is societally dependent.
Okay, good. So, oh, beautiful. So, when a person himself identifies as a man, but this person doesn't fall in the societal norm of what a man is, would they still be considered men?
I would say we would reference their identity, not their presentation. Do you understand that distinction?
Yes.
Okay, great. That distinction would be the difference I would make. So
Yeah,
if they
but
identify as this, right, they are
mhm.
identifying with the social construction. And then if they don't act on that, that's their prerogative, right? But what we're asking about is their identity. So you can, yeah,
Yeah, but it still would be problematic, right? So if you would have your perception of what a man is, and it would totally be the opposite of what society deems to be a man or woman.
but what would that mean? Like, what would I mean, my perception of what a man is? Like, what do I mean by that word? All I'm
Unless,
saying is that, like, when I say this word, this is what I'm referencing. And most people would understand that that's what I'm referencing, right? So a lot of right wingers come up here and say, well, if they identify as a man, but then don't identify as the social construction, right? Well, then they mean something else by this word other than the definition that I provided, right? And then they're just disagreeing with me on one of the definitions, and that's
no, no.
fine, right? But talking within the context of my definition, right? I don't see how someone could identify with this given social construction and paradoxically not identify with this social construction.
Yeah, the problem is that if you would agree that this social construct and a person could actually be a man or woman, but not be aligning with the social construct, basically, you a man or woman could actually mean anything, right?
That's not true. No. So I
Okay,
gave
tell
you a
me
limiting
how it's not true.
definition. It couldn't mean anything. It's a person who identifies with this social construction. It's about their identity, not
Okay,
their
so
presentation. So, yes, I agree that their presentation could be anything, right? That's like saying, well, a blonde person could have any color eyes. Yeah, they're two irrelevant metrics, right, to each other. Um,
yeah, but
it means,
then my point still stands. Then it is society who determines what a man and woman is.
as that's not a point. I agree with you.
Okay, good.
That's referentially accurate.
Okay, I would disagree with this.
Oh, okay. So it's not your point. Like
No, no.
what is it then?
the point is that I disagree with what you don't disagree with, right? So you
Okay,
say
why do you
that
disagree with it?
because I think it's correlated with sex.
I don't doubt that it's correlated with sex. I just don't think
Yeah.
it's independently and finally uh, dependent on sex.
I do think that.
Wonderful. Why?
Hmm?
Why?
Because it's synonymous to each other,
It's
right?
not. Okay, why? That's just restating the claim.
Okay, so sex and gender are basically the same thing, right?
Why?
And
Why do you believe this?
okay, okay, good. So good. So how many genders are there?
That's socially dependent.
Okay, are there
Once again, can you answer my question? Why are sex and gender the same thing? Because that's not what the view of the English language dictionaries. That's not the view of the American Medical Association. That's not the
well,
view of the
it
American
actually
Psychological
is.
Association. So that's not the view of basically anyone.
It is, it is,
So
it is.
why is it your view?
It is one of the definitions, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's solely synonymous, right? So I agree that there's a
Yeah,
meaning of man that is the same as male, right? And there's a meaning of woman that is the same as female. But it's not the view of basically any linguistic expert that that is the only meaning. So why are you suggesting that that's the only meaning?
because it's the only logical meaning that would work in reality.
Can you tell me, okay, what do you mean by
Yeah,
it's the only logical
I will
meaning?
tell you. I will tell you what I mean. So, if you would say, like you said earlier, that a man or woman is deemed by how society tells what a man or woman is, then, like I said earlier, it could basically mean anything because my experience of these things could be different from society, but they still would deem me a man or woman. So then you're basically referring to nothing.
Restate that for me. So my society makes a decision as to
Yes.
what these words mean,
Hmm.
and then I identify with that category.
No, the
I
point is,
agree. I
yeah.
agree that the societal decision is arbitrary. What characteristics they choose to associate with males and females is arbitrary. I agree. Um, that's just true. And
Hmm.
then my identity within it is is my choice or
Yes.
my existence. It's a truth of myself, either through my lived experience or just my facts of reality.
Yeah.
Um, but that doesn't mean that I, as a gender, can be anything. It's socially relevant. It's socially related.
Well, there are a
So I
lot of
don't
people.
understand what you mean by it's
Okay,
the only
I will
logical
try
one.
to
I can
restate it.
observe a fact about society, right?
Yeah.
And that fact be socially dependent.
Yeah. Okay, good. So we agree on that, right? So if society deemed a man to be a certain way, let's say masculine or strong, um, all these things we associate with men's, right? For example, if this would be the case, then um, there was a, let's say there is a person who doesn't align with anything of these conditions, but
What do you
yet
mean by they don't align with it? Do they not present it or do they not identify with it?
they don't identify with it.
They don't identify. Okay, so if
Yeah.
they don't identify with the social construction, they are not that thing.
Okay, then my point still stands. That means you being a man or woman is determined by other people.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, isn't
Once
that
you've
problem?
you
Isn't
just
that
this isn't an argument. You're just restating my claim.
okay? This okay. You don't seem that. Isn't that problematic to you?
No, things being determined by other people is not an issue.
No, it isn't. So you
No.
need
So,
okay. So
for
you need
example,
another
it's
person to
really clear
tell
that
you
it's
you're a man
determined.
or woman.
Wait, a bunch of things are determined by other people, though, right? Like a
Yeah,
huge
but
amount of things are determined by
yeah,
other
yeah, yeah.
people.
That's not my point. But
So we have a bunch of labels that are determined by other people, or at least in relation to other people, right?
it's,
Why would it be an issue that gender is?
well, it's obvious, right? So you don't need another person to tell you which gender you are. It's hilarious. It's
Well, that's
ridiculous.
not the claim, though. I'm not saying that you need another person to tell you which gender you are. I'm saying
Basically,
which
you
gender
are.
you are is related to decisions other people have made, which is true.
Okay, good. So if I live in a society, let's say in the West, and they have a let's say they have a perception of what a man should be in this society, And if I move from this society to another society, and their definition of a man is totally the opposite of this, right? So what would this mean? Would this mean that
This would mean that
my
you
gender is
identify as a
dependent
man
on
in
these
this
people, or
society
is it
and
dependent on
as
my
wait,
experience?
so
Yeah, I wasn't finished
you
yet,
would
but
contextually identify as a man in this society and a woman in this one.
yeah, isn't that
In that
problematic?
context. I don't make an argument, right, as to why
Okay,
it's
the argument
problematic.
is then you would be a
Your
man and woman
argument
at the
can't
same
just
time.
be, isn't that an issue?
Okay,
Wouldn't
the
I wait
argument is
like
the argument is, I will repeat it again, then you would be a man and woman at the same time.
that's yeah, but I'm a man and a woman at the same time in many contexts, right? In
How?
many different ways. I am
Okay,
a
so
man the American society, right, but not within the Jewish American society because I haven't gone through a bar mitzvah, right? Like, what do you mean? I'm not a man in the Catholic Church, right? But I'm a man in my church.
yeah, but are you a
We
woman
can be a
in your own
man and
church?
not a man, right? In multiple different contexts.
Are
And
you
pretty
a
much
man and a
everyone
woman?
recognizes this, right? That you can be not a man or a man in different contexts. We recognize this. That's why different places have different coming of age. So, yeah, absolutely. You can be a man and not a man in different contexts. And I don't
Yeah,
think
but
you would disagree with that.
you just gave explanations of being a man and not a man, right? You just gave an explanation of being a man and a boy, right? But just show me an
Wait, so
example of
that's
being a man and a
equally
woman.
problematic.
Okay,
What?
be a man and a woman at the same time. Show me this.
Yeah, so a woman, right, could be a man of the house.
That's not what I asked.
That's an example. She's a man of the house, but she is a woman in another
Being a man
context.
of the house is not what I asked.
No, but that's being a man. It's
But
contextually relevant. You understand how these words are contextually relevant?
they are not.
Well, do you disagree that a woman can be the man of the house?
I don't disagree with that.
Okay, cool. Then you would agree that this term is contextually relevant.
But being the man of the house doesn't necessarily need to mean that you're a man or at all,
But it does in that
right? A child
context.
could be the man of the house.
When,
Would
I agree
you
because they have
disagree with
different
this?
meanings contextually. Do you know what it means for
Yeah.
something to be contextually relevant?
Yeah, but it isn't contextually relevant.
It
That's
is because that is a man in that context.
oh Lord. It's like talking
This
to a
is just
wall.
a refusal to engage in nuance, right? Like
No. There's no
this
refusal to
word is
engage in
nuanced,
nuance. But
right?
the
So you asked me why it was a problem for them to be two things simultaneously. People can be two things simultaneously, right? As I said, I'm a boy within the Jewish faith and a man within the Christian faith.
yeah, but you're still talking about same gender. I talked about
Yeah,
can you
but I
be
know, but that's a line in the sand, right? Because it would equally be problematic, right? Once again, you haven't actually made an argument. All
bro?
you've done is ask me a question. Is it problematic? No, it's not problematic. It's on you to prove that it is problematic, which you haven't done. I've
I
been
literally
engaging
did.
with it because it's
I
entertaining,
literally did.
but you
I
actually
will okay.
haven't made an
Okay,
argument. Tell me
I
why
will
it's
repeat it
problematic.
again. I will repeat it again because
Don't
you're
repeat it. Tell me why it's problematic.
okay. I will tell you why it's problematic because when you say man and woman could actually mean anything,
I
then
didn't say it
it
could
is
mean anything. So, okay. I mean, we're going to cut that off right now. That's not what I said. That's not what anyone said. We didn't say that it could mean anything.
okay. What can it mean then?
It can mean, right, whatever society, the given society deems it, whatever
Okay,
the
is
associations are.
that
It's
okay?
societally relevant. Could
Okay, could that
president mean
mean
anything?
anything? Could
Any
that
word
be
could mean
anything?
anything, but that's not the argument, isn't it?
Okay, could that be anything? The societal norm.
It's bound by the description that I gave it. So it's
Oh
whatever
Lord.
characteristics could conceivably be
You're not
associated.
good at this, bro. So could that mean anything? The societal
Not
norm.
really. Not it
Not
couldn't
really.
mean literally
Oh.
anything. So man couldn't mean pencil, right? But
Okay,
it
why
could
not?
mean,
Why not? Tell me.
I mean, in that's not how most English speakers understand the term.
Wow. So now you're giving meaning to words, even though you're not speaking for the society. You're just giving your definition of what a man should be, but
No, so
societal
I'm giving
norm
a
could mean anything.
description. I'm giving a description of how people use and understand these terms.
You haven't proven yet how it cannot mean anything. I'm
Well,
waiting.
I did. I noted
Okay,
to you.
prove it.
Once
Okay,
again,
show
you've
me.
proved nothing.
I literally did.
Um, if you believe that what you've done
Okay,
is
so
make an
my
argument,
argument
you can
still
believe
stands.
that.
My
That doesn't
argument
make it
still
true.
stands. I will
You didn't
repeat
make an
my
argument.
argument and you can try to refute it. My argument still stands. A man, according to you, could actually mean anything. Refute it.
Wrong.
Okay, tell me
That's not an
what's
argument. That's a proposition. Do you know the distinction between a proposition and an
yeah,
argument?
I know, but
Okay, then make an argument.
no. So okay, so my proposition. Let's start with this. So a man could mean anything. You agree or
Okay,
disagree with this?
that's your assertion. What's your argument to prove the assertion?
You agree with it or not? Then I can go. I will go farther.
A man can mean anything within what context?
In societal norm.
In societal norm. That didn't add much context. So do I think that the term
Oh
man
Lord.
could mean anything? Yes, insofar as any word could mean anything.
Okay,
Do I
thank
believe
you.
that
Thank
within
you.
the current understanding of language, right? Within the current understanding of language, that like the term man is unbounded? No, it's a bounded term.
Okay, bounded by what? Tell me.
It's bounded by our understanding of the term.
Okay, and what is this understanding of yours?
Wait,
Tell
but
me.
make your argument.
No, no, okay,
No,
tell me what your
we've
understanding is, and
affirmed
then I
that we
will
have a
make my
no, no, no,
argument.
no.
Because
We've affirmed that we have a
you're
disagreement.
coping
Make an
very hard.
argument.
You
No,
see
no,
how
no,
hard you're
Sam.
coping. I see how
I'm not
you're having a
coping.
hard
You
time.
haven't made an argument.
You're having a hard time. So, okay, I will make my argument. So you said that a man could mean something what society deems it to be, right? But you don't want to tell me what it exactly is or how you think what a man is. So, what is a man to you?
Make an argument.
I will make my argument. This is my
Then
second
please
point. So,
do. Go.
what is a man? This is my
No,
second
please
point.
make your argument.
I will make my argument after this.
Okay,
So,
then do so.
what is a
I've
man?
given you like
What is a
10
man?
minutes
Why
of
are you afraid
waffling.
to engage,
I've given
bro?
you
Why
like
are you
10
afraid?
minutes of. I'm not afraid, right? What I'm doing is not engaging in ludiocracy. So make your
Okay, my
argument,
argument
right?
is
I've given
a man
you.
is a adult male.
That's an assertion. Prove it.
Okay, let's look up the definition of what it says.
So your
Yes,
argument
it
is let's
says
look it up.
no. I said I'm gonna look up the definition
Then
for
make
you
your
because
argument.
you don't get it. So
I
adult
understand.
male.
So once again, all you've done is make assertions. So just make
Yeah,
an argument.
I
You claim
it
to know the
seems
distinction, and yet you
yeah.
consistently,
It's
and that you,
clearly it's hilarious because you don't want to engage in this conversation, right?
well,
You have a
it's not a
like
debate
a
if you don't have a
position.
side. You need to make beyond assertions.
Yeah. My side is very clear. So I
I
showed,
know your belief.
I told you that a
I don't
man
know
is
your
a adult
argument.
male, and a man is not something decided by society. I told you that like multiple times. And
Okay, great. So let's use your argument. Look it up. See what the Oxford Language Dictionary says.
okay, look it up. I don't have a second device near me, so
Okay.
if you can put it on the screen, please.
I have all of them up here. So literally the first thing that comes up is the Oxford Language Dictionary, Slay Oxford. Entry for what is a man, right? 1 second. I can just.
And they keep adding it, for
Great. So if we're just
people's
going to go with
feelings.
just look it up, I'm going to give you the answer that we get when we just
Yeah,
look it up.
yeah, sure.
First definition in the Oxford Language Dictionary: an adult male human being.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
Great. Another definition, the Oxford Language Dictionary, is a person with the qualities traditionally associated with males.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So a person with the qualities traditionally associated with males. That's
Okay,
interesting.
good.
So wouldn't that be socially dependent?
A quality socially associated with males.
Traditionally associated with males.
Yeah, it doesn't
Tell me
need
how
to be.
something being traditionally associated with males wouldn't be socially dependent.
Okay, so if I deem a man to be a certain way, I don't need society to tell me this.
But 1 second, just
I am also
literally
part
the
of that
verbatim.
tradition.
Tell me how this is your argument. So let's use your argument with the look it up method. Tell me how qualities being traditionally associated with males isn't socially dependent.
Like I said, if I deem a man to be a certain way, I don't need to go to another person to confirm this.
But you deeming it this way doesn't make it traditionally associated.
It does.
It doesn't, because you're not tradition.
Okay, tell me how it isn't. If
Well,
I
but you doing something isn't
decide my
traditionally
traditions, tell me
associating it
how
with
it
it.
isn't. No, tell me how it isn't. If I decide my traditions, tell me. Prove that to me. What you just said.
Wait, traditions are facts of like history. So like if I do something 5 minutes ago,
Yeah.
right? It's not traditional, right? Traditional,
Not
right, is
necessarily, no.
very clearly the traditions of the society you're within, or the traditions of the given social ecosystem that you're within. You could even have personal traditions, right? Um,
Exactly.
but
So
all of them require history,
yeah,
right?
so
And it's
if
very clear, but it's very clear at the very least, if they are referencing traditionally associated with males, one type of tradition they're referencing is a social tradition. So a person that identifies with the social tradition of their society, right, associated with males, is a man then. That's certainly socially dependent. So there's at least one understanding of man that is socially dependent. You would agree with that, right?
could be, yeah, yeah, could.
Great. That's my whole argument.
Yeah, the your whole argument that it's socially dependent, it doesn't show anything. Then my point still stand because I said according to you, then a man could be anything.
Yeah, according to Oxford Language Dictionary, whatever
Yeah.
they
So
associate with
so so
males,
you have
right,
like
could
you
also
have
be a
like
man.
two
So that's the
words.
view of your argument, right?
No,
So
no,
if
no.
your
It's not the view of
argument
my.
is
It's
going
not
to
the
be
view of my.
look it up,
So
right? If your argument is going to be look it up, right, then I'm going to look it up and take that for
that's
the
not my.
worth.
That was
The
not.
Oxford
That was not
Language
my
Dictionary
argument.
view agrees with me. So make an actual argument.
Yeah, the actual argument would be that man is not decided by society.
That's an
And
assertion. Make an argument.
yeah, so if you let me finish, yeah. So man is not decided by society. It is decided, like y'all people say, it's decided by the person himself, right? How they
Still an assertion.
identify. Can I finish, man? Come on,
It's
what's
still an
wrong
assertion.
with you?
Make an argument.
Okay, can I finish? What's wrong with you?
Stop
Why you
repeating, and
so
I'll let you
you're
finish.
so angry, bro? Why are you so angry? Are
Because
you
you
angry because I
consistently
disagree
repeat,
with you?
because you completely consistently repeat nonsense. I have a very high tolerance for nonsense, but I do this for a very long time.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
make
yeah.
an argument.
So a man is not decided by society, right? Even in the people you support, they say it is decided by their own perception of themselves, which would be a contradiction, right? So my argument would be being a man, according to you, is not decided by society, but by yourself.
It's not an argument. It's an assertion once again.
It is. I say being a man is decided by yourself.
I agree that being a man is decided by yourself.
Yeah. Okay. You also agree that it is decided by society.
No, that it's socially dependent.
Okay. So how is that then decided by yourself? Is it socially dependent?
In the same way that me
How is that
being
not a contradiction? Tell me.
it's not at all actually. So if I am a carpenter, wait, no, let's see. If I am a CEO, right? That's decided by myself. I chose to be CEO, but it's also socially dependent because in order to be so, society has to recognize me as one. If I am a senator, I have choice as to whether I'm going to be a senator, but in order to be a senator, society must recognize me as such, right? So a necessary condition is society recognizing me, but that is not a sufficient condition, right? Me identifying that way and society recognizing me as such are necessary conditions that together make a sufficient condition.
Well, was not a good analogy because you're talking about positions, right?
It's
And
not an analogy.
if
You
I
asked me
may
how it's not a contradiction. I
yeah,
was trying to
if I
explain to
may
you
if
how
I may
something being you may
oh my lord.
um you were trying to suggest that something being decided by oneself and by society must be contradiction. No, they just have interplay with each other. So once again, you've not made an argument. You've made an assertion that I actually agree with, right? So if all you're going to do is make assertions,
You
and they
haven't
aren't even assertions that I disagree with, there is no disagreement.
there clearly is.
Yes, but you're not elucidating that for me
I
because you're bad at arguing. Because you actually haven't made an argument.
yeah, I clearly made an argument. You're waffling around it. You like to listen to your own voice, I've noticed.
Oh
And
yeah, no, I love listening
yeah,
to my
yeah.
voice.
You have the only thing you have said is that being man is socially dependent, right? And you also said,
I've actually said quite a lot, right? And
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
made your own
So
arguments for you, right? I
yeah,
completed the look it up
I'm
argument that you
yeah,
engaged in.
that was not my argument. I said to look up the definition, so I never said
So
that to
you
be my
never made
argument.
an argument when I asked you to, 10
I
marks.
never
Great.
said that that's my
Well, I
argument.
think I'll try and move on to someone who disagrees cogently. Um, but thanks for coming up. You can have a final word if you'd
Yeah,
like.
yeah. So 1 second. Yeah, so for you to understand what a man is, you need to have other peoples to determine this for you. Even though, on the other hand, you say that is decided by your own perception of yourself, right? Which would be a clear contradiction. Yeah, I want to end with this, and I hope you will use your brains and come to the conclusion that men are males, right? And women are female. So
A delightful point, Sam. Thank you so much.
take care.
Keep on following me. Follow my YouTube. It's in my bio. Follow my spam because that's also helpful. Much love, everyone.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello. So, trans men, I'd say if a man is identified by two things: one, the gender they're born, and two, what society sees them as. And I don't mean changing into a new gender. I mean, you know how when someone says, be a man, right? They say, be a man and do this, look like, fight like a man. That's the other type of manly thing.
Yeah, you have a bit of bad audio. Is there any way you could move that around and get closer to the mic or something?
Hello?
Let's see. Keep speaking.
Can you hear me now?
It's still quite garbage, the audio. Is there any way we can make it better? You're right next to it.
Yes.
Okay, well we can do that. Okay, great. So you said that it's determined on two things: the gender you're assigned at birth and how society views it. I don't totally disagree. I just don't see why that would produce a disagreement here.
Oh. Well, because you're saying trans men are men, and I don't see, like, if you change yourself into a different gender, you're still the same gender you were born as. You're just pretending, like, dressing up as someone you're not. Kind of
Well, that's
like when a
fascinating
child.
though, because your secondary quality was how society perceives you.
Yes, that's
Right.
all part of the
And so
same.
what you're going to need to do is justify to me why the gender I was assigned at birth is relevant for anything other than inferring the gender I identify as. Because that's my view, is that the reason we assign gender at birth is to infer the gender they may identify as later.
Well,
Um,
I was born as a male, and I still identify as male. And
well,
I
typically,
know,
this is the important distinction, is typically it doesn't really matter how you identify in terms of male or female, right? Those are sexual terms. What we're talking about here is gender, which would typically be understood in a sociological understanding.
a male
Um,
is gender. Male and female, they're both genders.
it's not really true, is it?
Yes, it is.
No, I mean that's not accurate. Male is a sexual term, so is female. Um, that's just not what the word means. If you want, we can check, but that's not true. I mean, the once again, the Oxford Language Dictionary disagrees, the Cambridge Language Dictionary disagrees, the Merriam-Webster disagrees, the AMA and APA would all disagree. So that's not what the term means. No,
Well, for centuries it's been like that.
it's just not true. I mean, there wasn't a male and female gendered language. There was masculine and feminine gendered language. Um, it hasn't been like that for centuries. That's just not true.
Yes,
Um,
because it's been like that since Adam and Eve. The story of Adam and Eve, you've heard of that, right?
yeah,
Eve was
in the Old
female,
Testament,
Adam was male.
which recognizes 8 genders.
I've read the Bible, and as far as
Yep.
I'm concerned, the only two genders are male and female.
But that's not, I mean, that's not what the Jewish faith recognizes in the same exact passages.
How would you know?
How would I know what the Jewish faith says? Because I've asked Jews.
I've asked Jews too, and the ones I asked seem to recognize that there are two genders, male and female.
Wonderful. I mean, talk to rabbis who have studied it and come back to me. But I mean, most both Orthodox and progressive Jews recognize, but that between 6 and 8 genders are recognized within the Torah and Talmud.
So how many genders do you think there are?
I think it's socially dependent. I think it depends whatever society recognizes as such.
Okay,
Gender
so
is just the set of social constructions built around sexual characteristics. So I guess there's any infinite amount of ways that you could construct social constructions around sexual characteristics.
So I could identify as non-human if I wanted to.
No, but that wouldn't be relevant to this discussion, and you know that, don't you?
No, it would be because it's the same thing with the whole genders. You're born a gender, you're born a human. If you say you're a different gender, then you could be a different species.
Well, what do we mean when we say gender?
Well, gender, I'm talking about male and female.
Great. Well, that's not what we mean, and that's not what transgender mean. Transgender people typically
I know
mean.
what transgender
So if you want to
is.
actively misunderstand them, that's your choice, right? But that's not going
No,
to get
I know what
anywhere.
transgender
They aren't
is.
referring to male and female when they refer to genders. Typically, we're referring to social constructions built around sexual characteristics, right?
What,
Not the
you
sexual
mean?
characteristics themselves.
Okay. My cousin, he has a best friend, right? And
Congrats.
no, I'm not finished. Let me tell the story.
I don't want to hear a story. Do you have a point?
Yes, this is part of it. He's saying that.
I can barely hear you.
I think you're just ignoring me.
No. I just genuinely, your audio is like the worst thing I've ever heard. Do you have headphones in?
No?
How is this doing it? Okay, well, you're a little bit better now, but maybe just speak up and I can hear you.
Okay, so back to my cousin. He has a best friend, okay? His best friend looks like a male, dresses like a male, acts like a male, but claims he's a female, okay?
Do they claim they're a female?
Yes, they say, I'm considered girl. He hasn't even had an operation.
Oh, that they're a girl. That's interesting. So do they mean female by that?
Yes, girl, female, same thing.
Have you asked them if they mean female by
Yes,
that?
I have.
And they've said female?
Yes.
Wonderful. Then they're what we would call a transsexual, and that would be a different discussion.
Transsexual? It's all part of the same thing.
It isn't. They're actually pretty different movements.
How?
In that they're referring to different things.
Sex and gender are the exact same thing.
That's not the view of the vast majority of transgender people. That's not the view of the vast majority of sociologists. You're just actively, purposefully missing the point. Why do you choose to purposefully miss the point?
I'm not. You're actively, purposely not listening to me.
I hear you. You're wrong. I'm disagreeing with you. The only way I could disagree with you is if I know what you're saying. Right?
Okay.
And I know what you're saying because I've heard it 10 million times. It's not true.
Sex means two things. The first thing sex means is when, two people have sex. The other thing sex means is also gender. My sex is male. Your sex is whatever.
Have you ever looked up the definition of gender?
Yes.
What does it say? Goes to look it up. So you haven't looked it up before. You just went to look it up. Okay. Well, let's keep going, everyone. If you can go follow my YouTube, I'm going to try and do some lives on YouTube and get YouTube moving, grooving, and slaying. So it'd be great if we could get some more people who disagree, or more people who agree on YouTube. Also, one of my shorts on YouTube is doing really well, so go me. Yeah, but my YouTube's in my bio. But also, if you can send likes to get this live moving and grooving, that'd be great. I might restart the live um, in a little bit, uh, just so that we can get this viewership up, baby. Do you think we should do that? If 193 of you come back in to the live in about 2 seconds, okay, will you smash the likes? Can we do that? I think we can. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna restart the live, okay, and it'll be more interesting for you and for me. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Speed run, baby, speed run.